Hey everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel and other things that make me point very pointedly in the upwards direction because I'm very excited to be back here post Expo, post exhaustion, post I'm always exhausted. Who am I kidding? But you know, it's so great to be back here, to be in my basement with T behind me and Addison, well, in front but to the side. Physics are weird, man. I don't know. But we're here, and last week we talked about players to acquire on your rebuilding teams because we had preseason. We had football. We didn't have the Hall of Fame game. We didn't have football. We had football. The first one is Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I guess we don't need to say why Tyreek Hill is a player to acquire, because I think that's rather obvious at this point. So let's go 12-team Superflex. The first trade we have is Tyreek Hill for a 24 first, Jameson Williams, and a 24 second. Tyreek coming in at 564, 24 first, 332, Jameson 174, and a second at 114 for a total of 620. So we're 3 for 1-ing. We are overpaying a little bit to get the best asset easily in this trade. I guess I'll go first because I don't have the strongest feelings of Jameson Williams. I have my just in case share or two of him. That offense should, again, like very similar reasons. The offense should be good enough that if Jameson Williamson can get healthy, can get healthy, he'll be good. Just because that offense has enough good pieces that he should do all right. But if you're telling me I could take a random first, which I'm hoping is mine, a player that's okay and could be good, and then a second is whatever at this point, and go get a dude that has been top 10 wide receiver probably since his rookie year. I don't think he took a year off of scoring well, that I can remember off the top of my head at least. So like, this is such an easy go and get Tyreek. But also, because we have to think of this the other side, is it a realistic trade? Because if you're a rebuilding team and you have Tyreek, do you accept this other side? I think you do, because I don't know how much more you're getting for Tyreek. He's 29. He put a death knell in his dynasty value by saying he's retiring by at the end of the 25 season. So even if he doesn't actually do that, it is ingrained in our brains that's going to happen. Not to mention he's about to hit 30 years old. I think this is a good trade for both sides. I love getting things that don't really affect your lineup and getting a stud in your lineup. But also, if I'm starting to rebuild, I love getting a 22-year-old wide receiver and a first. And I mean, a second, I get it, in the grand scheme of things, isn't going to alone help your team too much because of the hit rate of second-round picks. But you're going to use that to trade something else, to upgrade something else, to get another deal done along the way. So I do like this trade. I think it's fair. I think it's even. I think this easily gets done in real life. And since we're talking on the side of contending teams, easily send this stuff for Tyreek.
Yeah. The main reason why I included Tyreek Hill, and I feel like you could just say old, productive, veteran wide receivers, and you think of guys like Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, maybe Devontae Adams, but his value is a little bit cheaper than the other three of Tyreek and Kupp and Diggs. Those guys are borderline top 10 dynasty wide receivers, and Adams is a little bit lower. But you can basically say, if you're contending, just go out and get any of those three guys, the main three guys of Tyreek, Kupp, and Diggs. The reason why I chose Tyreek to put in here specifically is because I believe that he is the cheapest of the three in trade value, because, like you said, he announced that he's going to retire at the end of 2025, that he's going to play out his contract in Miami, and that's going to be it. And it's going to take him nicely into like age 31, 32, whatever it is.
Yeah. I planned on retiring at 32 also, but it didn't go well.
Well, you know.
You can still do that because you're like 12, right?
Yeah. So I think depending on how the market goes in the 401k, and we'll see how it goes at 32. But yeah, so because he said that he's retiring in 3 years, people all of a sudden are like, well, we can't have Tyreek Hill on our team now because he's a 3-year asset. But you play in 2 to 3 year windows anyway. A wide receiver who is 29, 30 years old is going to be a 3-year asset anyway. If anything, I'm almost more confident in Tyreek Hill because I know that he's going to play up to that point, and then we know when the end is, because It seems like with Stephon Diggs or Cooper Kupp, like they could just call it anytime. Whereas Tyreek said, nah, I'm playing 3 more years and then I'm done. And Tyreek, we know, is going to be a fantastic asset. He was, I think, the wide receiver 2 last year, wide receiver 3, I think, in points per game when you include Cooper Kupp in for points per game. Dude's fantastic. And his trade value in, when people ask me questions, hey, what do you think about this Tyreek Hill trade? What do you think about acquiring Tyreek for this, selling Tyreek for that? In almost every single one of these deals, I'm almost always saying that's nowhere near enough for Tyreek. Like, I don't think you realize what asset you have in Tyreek that you're selling him away or, trying to buy him for all that stuff. And this deal is just, to me, it's so easily Tyreek. First and a second, whatever Jameson Williams is, who's, I think actually just earlier today, just came up with an injury at training camp, on top of the fact that he's dropping passes and that he's suspended for 6 games. So there's just not a lot of positive stuff coming out around Jameson Williams. That just throw him in there. He's probably worth closer to a second than he is a first. Just go get Tyreek Hill, man.
Let's move on to the next one because this one is interesting. Yeah, I love this one and it's terrifying. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce for Jalen Waddle, a 24 first, and Chig Okonkwo. Tyreek Hill, 564. Travis Kelce, 481. Caution, Team B is giving up the highest value asset and most pieces in the deal, totaling out at 1045. Jalen Waddle, 676. The first is 332. Chig holding strong at 56 for a total of 1064. So all intents and purposes, it's even. Chig just seems like a throw-in because, like, oh, just give me a tight end that I can plug in, right? Like, it's that level of guys that towards the end of the season, it felt like he was good to plug in every single week. Will Hopkins change that or not? Who knows? But still, people like him. So we're just going to call him a throw-in at this point, which means this is insanely even. How is, like, I don't even know how to, like, shape this offer. Like, I look at this and I know, I get it. There's a 5-6 year difference between Waddle and Hill, and firsts are nice. But like we've been saying for the past few minutes, you're getting 2-ish years out of Tyreek. If I'm fully believing that we're going to get 2-3 years of Travis Kelce level Travis Kelce, I very easily take the stud side here. It hurts to get rid of a 24-year-old Jalen Waddle and a 24 first at the same time to get these old people, but that's so many points.
That's a ton of points.
Like, we live in a world where there's a chance Waddle will outscore Tyreek Hill, and I read the numbers off. Waddle is dynasty value worth more than Tyreek, but there's just such a difference between Kelce and the rest of this, like the first and Okonkwo, where it's just like, that's okay. I'll give that up a little bit to get Kelce on my team, because you're not getting Kelce for a first and Chig. Like, that's just most likely not getting done. So I would do this deal to go add Kelce, especially if there's point anything tight end premium makes me want Kelce on my team even more.
I mean, that's exactly how I broke this down. In my head, I was like, I'm taking Kelce over Chig and a 2024 first. And especially if you're looking at this from a contender's point of view, if that is your first that you're sending away, that's potentially the 112, hopefully the 112. So that's very easy to just go get Travis Kelce and solidify yourself the tight end 1 for 2023, probably 2024, maybe even 2025. Just call it there. And then, yeah, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, I agree that you're losing the dynasty value, and some of that dynasty value is made up by winning the Travis Kelce over Chig in the first trade. So it evens out the trade nicely. But at the same time, if you just, again, you're looking at it from a contender's point of view, you just move from the wide receiver 2 on a team to the wide receiver 1. And you dropped a little bit in age to do that. But, you know, more times than not, Tyreek Hill is going to be the one outscoring Jalen Waddle every single week. He's Tua's first target. He is the guy who is just as, if not even more explosive than Jalen Waddle for big playability. Like, everything that you love about Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill is that, and then a little bit more. So just, yeah, this is perfect. From a contending standpoint, so many fantasy points.
Let's move on to our next player. Ooh, I love it. Aaron Jones, because this is another one of those guys where it's just like, all right, the Packers aren't going to be good. They're just going to get rid of Aaron Jones. They didn't get rid of Aaron Jones. Oh, man, Aaron Rodgers is gone. The Packers are going to be bad. They don't want to pay Aaron Jones. They're going to get rid of Aaron Jones. They didn't get rid of Aaron Jones. So in a team that we have no idea what they're going to look like, that have very, very young pass catchers, this could very well be an Aaron Jones-led offense. And now I'm not saying he's going to workhorse. I'm not saying he's going to end as the RB1 or anything, but he could be a very steady, very mid-low end RB1 as an upside. But at worst case, you're talking a very, very strong high RB2. And that's great. I'm good with that as my only running back. In my leagues, you only need to start one. So, or if you have to start 2 running backs, I'm good with him being my RB1 on my team. That's a better way to put it. So let's go to the trades. 12-team Superflex. Aaron Jones and Irv Smith Jr. starting tight end for the Broncos. Yeah, go. For DeAndre Hopkins and Antonio Gibson. Aaron Jones coming in at 187. Irv Smith at 16 for a total of 203. Hopkins in at 123.4. I love it. And Antonio Gibson in at 71 for a total of 194.5. So this is leaning Aaron Jones pretty much. See, here's my thing. As you look, like Antonio Gibson, I get it. He's never going to be what we wanted him to be. A dude that we thought might come out as a wide receiver who just doesn't catch the ball in the backfield. But Hopkins is still really, really good. I don't care about the changing teams thing. I don't care about the fact that they're pretty much a run-first team or that Treylon Burks is there, and I'm a big Burks fan, and I still think Burks is very good. Hopkins is still going to be a very good wide receiver. Antonio Gibson can be okay. There's a chance, and a very strong chance, that Irv Smith is literally nothing. And 16 points in the analyzer sort of portrays that. So I'm really sitting here trying to think, is Aaron Jones's point production enough to carry over the fact that you're most likely giving up a starter from your lineup? Because I'm guessing both Hopkins and Gibson are starting on your team, unless you just have a really, really good team in a 12-team league, or you're starting 8, which seems a little boring. I hope you're not doing that. In the end, the answer is Aaron Jones because, like I said before, he has the much bigger upside and probably average range of outcomes that either of these two have. I think things need to go well for either of these two for it to be super relevant. So I think the answer is Aaron Jones. And I could say that because it's not me doing it. But if this came in my inbox, I don't know what I would do. I have to be honest. That would be very team dependent. If I'm a competing team and my team is very strong and losing either of these guys doesn't really hurt my starting lineup, I think you're right. I think it's Aaron Jones and you don't stop to think about it. I'm glad I talked that out. The answer is Aaron Jones because if losing DeAndre Hopkins and Antonio Gibson in your lineup means you're not contending anymore, you weren't contending in the first place. So I'm going to say the answer here is Aaron Jones. Thank you for letting me ramble, even though you should honestly just tell me to stop talking after a while.
No. I was letting you get to the correct answer because the correct answer is, of course, Aaron Jones. DeAndre Hopkins, I hate the Tennessee Titan landing spot. They have only supported one top 20 fantasy wide receiver in the Ryan Tannehill era, and that was a really young, really explosive A.J. Brown, who DeAndre Hopkins I don't think is at that level right now at 31, at least in terms of explosiveness and yak ability. Antonio Gibson, I really, really love Antonio Gibson for this year. I think he's a fantastic guy to go out and just straight up buy as your RB3, RB4 even, as a guy who can be a lot better than his ADP is right now. But there's just a lot of uncertainty there. What if they just decide to go with the Brian Robinson route, who could be the guy that they have in between the tackles? Maybe he gets a little bit more receiving volume that cuts into Antonio Gibson's workload. And he's fully healthy after not playing a season directly after being shot in the leg. Those are things that could happen for Antonio Gibson and DeAndre Hopkins. Just take away the uncertainty of both of them and move it over to Aaron Jones, who, while yes, I'm sure there's some uncertainty there just because it's a Jordan Love offense and what is the Green Bay Packers, as a team. But Aaron Jones is a guy who's been a top 10 fantasy running back in each of the last 3 years. So just go and get the guy who's going to catch passes. He's going to be good in between the tackles as well, too. He's probably going to see 250 touches in this offense. And if he does that and 40, 50 of them are receptions, that's probably going to once again make him an RB1, if not top 10. So Aaron Jones to me is the easy answer for this one. And just plug him right into your lineup as your RB1 and maybe even your RB2 if you're contending.
Well, looking at the next trade, I just want to do this one instead anyway. Let me keep Hopkins and Gibson and just throw a second and third at my troubles. Aaron Jones for a second and a third. Aaron Jones 186.6. The second and third together is 160.3. Without even thinking, I do this. If I'm a competing team, and over the entire 9-point scoring season, I've always said if I have my picks and I'm going to spend them, especially on a running back, I'm going to do it when the season's starting. The season's starting. Like, cool, really, in the perfect world, I wait until right before week 1. I think we still have technically 2 weekends of preseason, right? Because there's 3 preseason weeks now.
Yep.
But, like, Aaron Jones isn't really going to be playing. If he's practicing, I'm sure they're not going to really make him practice all that hard. So you're just hoping nothing really happens. Well, for every player, but like running backs especially. So a second and a third, especially again if they're mine, I would so easily do this.
Even if that was not your second and it was you acquired an extra second that is looking like it's a team that might not be a playoff team and it's going to be an early second, I don't care. Just go buy Aaron Jones.
Oh, yes. Next player, Keenan Allen. Truth. We don't need to explain why. He's Keenan Allen. He's so good.
He's so good. And hey, if you're out there saying, well, why would I go buy Keenan Allen? Because the dude's injury prone. Look at all of the seasons since like 2016 up until like last year. Like the dude's been an Iron Man and has just battled some soft tissue injury last year. And, you know, but if he stays healthy.
And yes, he's 31, but he also doesn't have the skill set that matters.
No, like, he's Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald had like 3 years of wide receiver 1 production at the age like 32, 33, 34.
Yeah, because he already plays on the inside. He doesn't bank on his speed. It's all about the footwork in the hands, and very, very good at it. So I don't care about that. And again, he's old and a slot receiver, so he's cheap, and it's wonderful. So let's see what these trades look like. More 12-team Superflex. Nice. Keeping it consistent and easy. Good job today, Addison.
Thank you.
Marquise Brown and Keenan Allen. Oh, why did you do this to me? These are 4 players. I am all for. Marquise Brown and Keenan Allen for Calvin Ridley and Darren Waller. Hollywood coming in at 193. Keenan Allen at 139 for a total of 331. Ridley 233. Darren Waller only at 91 for a total of 324. Again, completely even.
Where do you go, Russ?
You're the worst. Okay. And I know more than we're playing Dynasty, so a couple of weeks doesn't really matter. If we're talking full strength Kyler coming in week 1, I would probably lean harder towards the Hollywood and Keenan side. But given that we're getting Darren Waller, who I'm not going to predict injury, even though he's shown that getting through an entire season is probably out of the question. But I feel good putting him in my tight end spot every single week, especially since he is probably the best pass catcher on the Giants. And it's Calvin Ridley on the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. I think I'm taking the Calvin Ridley side. I don't blame either of these sides. I think this is an insanely fair, very good trade. But, I mean, you're getting... it's funny, even the ages kind of work out. Keenan is 31, Hollywood is 26, Waller's 30, and Ridley's 28. So, like, the average of the 2 ages is even pretty much the same. I think I take the Ridley and Waller side, mostly because of Waller playing tight end and him being a player I like putting in my tight end slot. And maybe having to sit through a couple of Colt McCoy weeks with Hollywood.
Yeah. I definitely don't blame either side, just like you said. I'm taking the Keenan Allen and Hollywood Brown side because I think Keenan Allen is going to be the best producer this year out of the whole entire, all 4 of these guys. And yeah, like you said, like it might suck for Hollywood while Colt McCoy is starting, but once Kyler comes back, or if they are so bad that then they get Caleb Williams next year, like, you know, these Hollywood, you still have to look at the dynasty perspective of Hollywood, that I will just take him and then reap the benefits of the wide receiver 1 production that Keenan's going to give me this year.
Yeah, I get it. And that's absolutely right. But you had to put Calvin Ridley in this one. Like, you did this. Like, you made this trade just to put it in here. I'm blaming you that much for it.
You'll never know.
Seriously, all 4 players I like. I hate when you do this to me. But this next one, I almost said Calvin Ridley again because you have Calvin Ridley on my mind. Thanks. Keenan Allen for Greg Dulcich. How's that not Keenan Allen? Even in a 0.75 premium, to me, that is very much Keenan Allen. Like, Greg Dulcich looked good. It's going to be a different offense. I'm not saying that Dulcich is going to be bad now. And we've seen lots of players do very well on lots of tight ends do very well under Sean Payton. So Dulcich can absolutely be what he was last year, maybe even better. But like Addison's been saying this whole time, it's Keenan freaking Allen. Even if I'm streaming tight ends, losing Dulcich shouldn't really hurt as much as getting Keenan Allen helps. I think I said that correctly, but if not, I'm sure everyone understood what I meant because I don't know how to say it a different way. So yeah, super easily Keenan Allen for me.
Yep. This is an example. I didn't want to throw in another of like Keenan for a second, especially if it's your second, just go buy Keenan Allen. While that happened a handful of times over the past couple of weeks in the trade finder for Keenan and is a very viable thing that you can go do. And if you can do it, go do it. But this is just another example of what it could look like if it was Keenan for a player that's kind of equal to a second round pick. There are other ones in here like Keenan for Rashee Rice, Keenan for, other kind of higher up second round picks this year that you could pay a 24 second for if you believe in them, that kind of thing. They all just kind of equate to a 24 second. Just is Keenan Allen.
Oh no, I scroll down and there's nothing left. So I guess that's the end of this episode of the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Unfortunately, every single one of our trade offers got rejected, so we don't have anything to talk about. Though I did just offer it to the person who's on the clock now because one Jamar Chase share has been drafted. Hopefully we don't miss out on the second one because we drafted Burrow at, what equates to the 105 because it's a 2-copy league. So to get that Burrow Chase stack, even though I know stacks mean nothing, they're exciting and fun. Leave us alone. Let us have fun.
Burrow Chase stack means something.
In here, if anything else, if nothing else, right in here. Well, DLF Trade Show, DLF YouTube channel, Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes at Amaze Hayes _. We'll catch you next time.